have that, because if you can't come, you can go back. You can
Right.
even go back a year from now and look at it. If you want to
That's
review.
right.
So I like that.
That's right. So, so welcome to class, and this is all the people who are in the class today, and we've got almost everyone on screen. In fact, if I just.
Did she take the
Okay,
glasses off?
okay. No, you can see right there. Okay, you're not on screen. That's fine. So,
I am.
so well, I know you're on screen, but okay. So, and let me just switch
I'm
this
the
back.
ghost.
Okay.
I'm the ghost.
Oops. Control and is supposed to switch this back here.
You can move over one chair, you will be on the screen.
Hey, I thought it was already in session. I just picked the first chair and sat down.
Okay, so apparently
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be able to switch this back, but it won't let me do that. So I'm just going, oh, Alt N. Alt N. There we go. Okay. So you all have the booklet in front of you. So we looked at the first section here, which was the first fours of the Seder. And now I think what we can do is we can look to page 9. So, and at this point, you're going to say, wait, page 9, but in the bottom corner, it says page 1. So what I've done, it's the miracle of Adobe. Okay. I've combined 4 different documents into one to print it all together as one. And then I put my own page numbers in the corner so I'm just going to use the big page number that are in the 2 corners there. And where it says, page 1 of 8, just ignore that. Okay. So we're going to start with a little bit of Hazara with review. So Hazara is something which the Jewish tradition is very strong on. And basically it says, if you want to learn something, you need to repeat it. By the way, that's why the Mishnah is called the Mishnah. Mishnah has the word sheni in it. Sheni is 2. It's repetition. Okay. And the rabbis in the Mishnah were called Tanaim. Tana is again 2. It's repetition. So all of learning is repetition. So we're now going to talk about questions. Okay. So encouraging questions found pedagogical tool that is foundational to Jewish learning, and it's felt during the Seder, right? The whole Seder is a set of questions, and this is the way we do it. However, over time, the rabbis debated, are the questions an end in themselves or means to grasp the laws of Pesach? What might this debate teach us about this? So we're going to look at the questions, right? The 4 questions. Now, there's a little comment here in the over here on the side here, where, so look, I can make a little dot go. Isn't that cute? See it on the screen? Okay, where originally in the Mishnah, it says, at this point, the child asks a question. And, well, let's look at it right here, okay? Originally, the child would ask a question. And if the child does not know how to ask, then you instruct the child as follows, right? So the 4 questions were not originally 4 questions. They were 4 answers. So let's look at the first thing here. And we all know this Hebrew. So who would like to read for us these questions here? So I'll read the Hebrew if you read the English. Okay? Okay. So, Diane, we'll start with you. So, Ma nishta halayla hazemiko halaylot.
Have different this night is from all other nights.
Sheba kol halaylot anu oklin chametzu matzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah.
On all other nights, we eat hametz and matzah. Tonight, we eat only matzah.
Sheba kol halaylot anu oklin sha'ar. We go to the next page. Yerakot halayla hazeh maror.
On all other nights, we eat any kind of vegetable. Tonight we eat maror.
Sheba kol halaylot ein anu makbilin afilu pam achat halayla hazeh shtei pamim.
All the nights we do not
dip even once, tonight we dip twice.
Shebachol halelot anu ochlin ben yoshin ben mesubin halal hazeh kulanu mesubin.
One night we either sitting or reclining, tonight we all recline.
Okay. So let's look at the Manashta from a new perspective, okay? Are these questions or statements? First of all,
Statements.
okay.
Statements.
Okay. Why? Okay, they're statements. So why do we call them the four questions? What's the question that we're asking?
Why
We're
the night
pointing
dip-
out something is different
Uh-huh.
and
Question, yeah, question is why is the night different?
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I notice that we're doing these things different. Question is, why? Why are we doing things different? Now, question. How does it feel to read the four questions not actually being at the Seder? Because we're not at a Seder right now, right? So how does it feel reading the Manishna out of context?
well, it's unusual, but I just figure we're studying it. So it's
Okay.
from a different
It's a learning.
intellectual perspective.
Yeah, it's like-
We're studying it.
Okay, so we're studying it. Okay, that's cool. What else? Okay,
Why did we decide to make this holiday separate? You know, learning about the holidays and why is it separate from all other holidays that we're eating matzah instead of bread?
yeah. Okay, so like, how is this different? Okay, because other holidays, we don't do this stuff. Right? Okay, good. So what do we notice about or wonder about the text? Okay. Like what's bizarre about the text? Because normally here's what we do. We read when do we read the Manishtanah? In the course of the Seder, when do we read
At
it?
the beginning.
Towards
Near the beginning. Great. Who's reading it?
The youngest,
And what's the implication of having the youngest person read it?
they don't know, they want.
They don't know, they want to know. Okay, and in that context, do the questions make any sense?
No.
No, no. Why not, Mark? Why don't they make any sense?
You're changing your entire way of doing things. It's holiday.
Okay,
You're sitting differently, you're eating different breads, you're bread, you're eating different vegetables.
but that makes sense, but why don't the questions themselves make sense? Or the statements?
Statements.
Why don't these statements make any sense for this youngest person to be asking?
He doesn't know any better.
Well, nobody knows any better, but why specifically is it reasonable for him to be asking this or her to be asking these questions?
Maybe, maybe not. Some kids, I don't know. Some kids may notice, others
Okay,
are
well,
not so observant,
okay,
in
so-
terms of noticing.
So
what's different.
let's go back to the questions, right? And let's just focus in on the content here, okay? So I want you to imagine, okay? I am a child. I've never been to the Seder before. Or I'm someone who's not Jewish and I've just converted and I've never been to the Seder before. So I'm coming in, I'm an adult, I've got an intellectual thing. And we sit down. And what have I seen so far? What I've seen is Kadesh, cup of wine, Orchatz, we washed our hands. Karpahas, we had some green vegetables, like celery or, potato or whatever.
Questioning
Right.
the
Hang on,
same
right, I had some nice vegetables. Yachatz, we've broken a middle matzah. Magid, and now we're telling a story. Okay. Question number one. On all other nights we eat chametz and matzah. Tonight we only eat matzah. What is my basis for asking that question so far based on what I've seen?
Haven't seen the challah.
right? I haven't not seen the challah either. I don't know what we're gonna eat. I mean, we're still, some people say there's 3 hours away from the meal. My Seder half an hour from the meal, but okay, right?
Mhm.
So can this person coming for the first time really know that there's no challah? They can't really know that. They're just, okay, there's something, fine, okay, maybe it's somewhere else, okay. Okay, on all other nights, we eat any kind of vegetable. Tonight we eat maror. What have we eaten so far in terms of vegetable?
Nothing. Just got there.
No, we did have a vegetable, right? We had the green vegetable. What was the green vegetable? What do you guys serve for green vegetable? Parsley? Okay, what else? What else do you guys serve for green vegetable?
It's you celery.
Celery, okay, good. Yeah,
During the meal, you can have any green vegetable.
right,
This is
Except
before the
beans.
meal.
right, but this is before the meal, right?
Yeah.
So question is, have we had the bitter herb yet?
No.
No. So when he says tonight we only eat bitter herbs, that hasn't even happened yet. He's not even encountered, or she has not even encountered the bitter herb, has she? Right? How does she even know about the bitter herb? It's on the plate, right? But then, it's like, and we have potatoes and carrots, and it's like,
So are you saying somebody kind of is looking at this a little out of order and they're asking questions before something actually happened for them to ask a question about? I mean, for the morrow, you're saying, we haven't
So-
eaten it yet, why are they asking the question?
right, so I'm
And
saying,
if you're asking these questions, I guess maybe it's a device to
uh-huh,
start the Seder and start telling a tale.
Right,
Perhaps it's a
right,
device.
right. So, yeah, now you're getting it, right? Because on all other nights we do not dip even once. Tonight we dip twice. How many times have we dipped tonight?
Might not have dipped yet.
We dipped the vegetable in the salt water.
Oh, okay.
What's the other dipping?
Finger in the wine.
No, that's not a dipping. The other dipping is the bitter herb in the haroset. That's the other dipping.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
We're not there yet.
No.
Okay, so we don't know about that. And all other nights eating, sitting, or recline. Tonight we recline. Again, we haven't even we're nowhere near the meat. Okay, so now that we've thought about this way, it seems kind of clear. It's absurd for us to think that these are 4 questions asked by the youngest child, right? With me? Okay. So let's look at this differently. So we're at number 2 on the bottom of page 10. So perhaps the noticing and questioning distract us from what's really important. Like, not all, I mean, by the way, where should if these really were questions, where would you put them?
The beginning.
At the beginning, based upon the information we have so far?
Mhm.
You know, dip before the
Well, no.
portions. You have the moral.
I think you should have the questions at the end. Like, what on earth was that? I've just finished this meal. We didn't have any bread. I waited the whole evening. There was no bread.
Yeah.
And you gave me this flat
Like,
and and this, oh my God, this herb that you made me eat. What was that? Who thought of that? And like dipping and dipping. I mean, okay, yeah, I know we use salad dressing now, but like dipping bitter herb in a mixture of wine thing.
Wait, we can dip in salad dressing.
What?
We can dip in salad dressing.
Okay, so
I would just, pull.
okay, so I'm going to let's pretend you're not Jewish and you go to the Seder. And you come backwards and afterwards and you say, okay, so someone says, well, tell me about your meal. It says, well, it was kind of weird, right? First of all, we started with a salad course. It was the most pathetic salad course I've ever had. It was like parsley, and for salad dressing, they use salt water, right? Then we came to the meat. Okay. Okay. So There's a book on my shelf called The Origins of the Seder. Benzine Boxer. No, Baruch Boxer, Benzine Boxer, son. And in this book, he says, the Seder kind of looks like what would happen if a rabbi went to a Greco-Roman symposium and just kind of tried to figure out what was going on, right? Like at the Greco-Roman symposium, you've got toasts, to the host, to the lady, to the king, to the gods, right? You've got toasts, right? 4 toasts. Right? And you've got a salad course with salad dressing, and you got meat with sauces, and you sit on the couches and you discuss. Oh, okay. So, these questions clearly are designed to educate, right? We're telling you what's going to happen. We're putting it in the youngest child's voice, and we're putting it at the beginning because we're educating. Because if the child was really going to wait until the end to ask, first of all, I don't think any child would be cognizant enough to even ask those kinds of questions. And B, they'd be asleep. Yep. Okay, good. Okay, so let's look at something from the Tosefta. Okay, so this is the Tosefta Pesachim. It's on page 11. Okay. So this story is probably where we get the 5 rabbis from Bnei Brak. This particular conversation here, it's interesting. Okay, so again, I'll read the Hebrew and we can go around the circle reading the English. Okay, so this is from Tosefta Pesachim 10:8. Chayav adam la'asuk b'halachot ha'pesach kol halayla. Afilu beno leven bino. Afilu beno uleven atzmo. Afilu beno leven talmido. First paragraph. Arlene, you want to read this again?
Oh, okay. So one is obligated to engage with the laws of Pesach the whole night, even if it is between him and his son, even if it is with himself, even if it is between him and his student.
Okay, you got to discuss the laws of Pesach, right? Okay. Maaseh, it happened. Rabban Gamliel v'zikanim shahayu mesupin b'beit beitos ben zunin belot. Ahayu oskin b'halachot pesach kol halayla ad karot hagalgar. Hagbihu milpanehem v'nodu v'halchu lahen levet hamidrash. Okay.
It once happened that Rabbi and Gamliel, the elders, were reclining in the house of Betis ben Zunin in Lod. They were involved in the laws of Pesach the whole night until the call of the Jerusalem. Their servants raised their food trays in front of them and then convened them into the house of study.
Okay. What's going on in the story?
Well, they certainly must have had a lively debate all
Mhm.
night.
All
trying
night
to
long.
Learn together and
Yeah. So Rabbi Eli Lehman says, there's no money shtanah going on here, right? What do you think the Seder with Rabban Gamliel and the elders was like?
Debated.
Debative? Dry, discursive, lengthy, talking over the food as opposed to talking before the food?
having some debates, going on tangents.
Sure.
Maybe they could have been applying the laws of Pesach to things they noticed happening in their day.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
if you're going on that night,
Right,
that
right,
long,
right.
you know, you might be wandering off topic and trying to make it relevant to
So-
your time.
So let me ask a question, right? And of course, you all know this from elsewhere in the mission. But you know this from the Haggadah as well, right? What is supposed to be the topic of discussion at the Seder? What's the topic that we're supposed to be discussing at the Seder?
Leaving the Exodus from Egypt.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
happened? A tale, a
Yeah,
story.
yeah. We are supposed to be doing that, right? We're supposed to be discussing our journey from degradation to elation, our journey from Egypt to the promised land, our journey from idolatry to being worshiping God, our journey from slavery to freedom, right? They're not talking about any of that. They're just talking about the rules. So when you guys sit down to your Seder, do you ever make an announcement like, tonight we are gonna focus our Seder on this thought? And then all the texts, and we see how they relate to that thought. Like, let's see how each of these things relates to slavery. Or how each of these things relate to freedom. Or how each of these things relate to family. Do you ever like put a focusing meaning on the discussion?
Not in that way.
What do you imagine might happen if you did?
You would eat some breakfast.
You wouldn't eat until breakfast, right? So you all have been to lectures and you all have been to classes, right? And you've, and been in conversations, right? There's a difference between a conversation where someone says, tonight our topic is going to be ba 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 ba, and then you talk, and the one says, okay, let's start talking, right? So the manishtana is framing the discussion. And it's framing it in terms of, in terms of what?
What's different?
What's different, right? So it's framing it in terms of chametz and matzah, okay? So we can talk about that difference. I don't know how fruitful that is, but it's talking about the difference between bitter and not bitter. So that could be like, how important is it to remember the past? And how much does the past impact your present, right? It's okay. After 9/11, the president could not go golfing. Right? It's no longer on the agenda, right? And I think there's something with Obama with golfing or attempts. I don't know. The thing is like, how can you be happy with this bitter thing that just happened? And then the other response is, God forbid there's a death in the family, and then there's a wedding that week. How can you not be happy? Right? I mean, do you let your past dictate how you behave in the present? Do you allow the past to inform the quality of how you behave in the present? Or do you just leave the past in the past because it's holding you back? I met someone recently who cannot take a bath, cannot go swimming, and cannot be in enclosed spaces because when they were 3, they nearly drowned. Come on, it's been a long time. It's been a long time, okay?
Let's be of skin is opiate condition.
Right.
That's a lot of fear.
So. Interesting, right? Okay, so
So you're
let's,
talking about the question of what do you learn from your past and how does it inform?
right.
Today,
So,
And
yeah,
what balance do you
Yeah,
find in,
right.
in
right, that's,
honoring it
right, that's the bitter
versus
herbs, right?
being in prison by
Right,
it?
that's the bitter herbs. The dipping twice, that's the, okay, bizarre things are going on. I don't know how to explain that, but the reclining one, forget the past. We're, okay, you know, my favorite symbol is of of the luxuriousness and the wealth of the present moment. Why do we have gefilte fish?
Some people like it.
I understand that, and
But that's fine.
and it's conditioning, I know, but the larger question is, why gefilte fish? Why not just have carp? Why do you have to gefilte it?
Because grandma did.
Why did grandma gefilte the carp?
Tradition.
Why was the tradition for, look, you gotta give me the answer somehow, okay? You can't kick the can down the road.
They're
It tastes
taking-
better.
Taking they're taking recipes from the areas in which they live. And
True,
that's an Ashkenazi
okay.
recipe.
But Bob's onto something here. He says
Yeah.
it tastes better. You ever seen carp on the menu?
No.
No. Do you know why you've never seen carp on the menu? Because it's inedible. It's disgusting. Okay? It's that. You gotta really do something to it to make it like appealing, okay? So now you go down to the aisle at the grocery store, and you've got the aisle of carp. You've got the gefilte fish, and they got every kind. They've got carp and whitefish, carp and salmon, carp and this, carp and that. They've got with all sorts of different interesting rainbow trout. You know, have you seen all those great ones? But it always has to have carp in it. Do you know why?
Because what else are you gonna do with it?
If you try to make gefilte fish without the carp, it won't stick together. It's the glue. Okay.
I never knew that. Okay.
Now, you're gonna go on the internet and you're gonna discover Rabbi's completely wrong. Okay, this is what I was told, okay? So as affluent and successful as we are in the present, you can't escape the roots of where you were. You can dress it up, right? But you can't cut yourself off from it, because if you do, it all falls apart. Okay, that's a story you can tell, for your gefilte fish. Oh, can you hang on for just one very moment? Hello there. Yes, you are speaking with him, and can I ask a favor? I'm teaching a class right now. Could you call me back in about an hour? Excellent, I will do that. Thank you. Who am I speaking with? Bertha, thank you, Bertha. Okay, bye-bye.
Japanese must have been much smarter than you. Never see carp sushi.
Okay. Okay. Let's look at how the questions come to be asked. Okay, so we're on page 12. Okay. Next one. Tana Rabnam, our rabbis taught. Hacham beno sho'alo. V'im eno hacham, ishto sha'alto. V'im lav, hu sho'el la'atzmo. V'afilu shnei talmidei hachamim sheyudi'in b'chilchot ha'pesach sho'olin ze leze. Okay, so our rabbis taught, and this is about the 4 questions. If the Seder leader's son is wise, he still asks him questions. And if he's not wise, his wife asks him questions. If not, he asks himself. Even two Torah scholars who think they know the laws of Pesach, they ask each other questions, right? So is this similar or different than the text of them being up all night discussing?
Well, still sounds like it's a good idea to keep asking
Okay.
questions among each other, even if it's, I don't understand this, I don't know what this is.
Okay.
And apparently you should question yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the distinction. So, flip back the page, 11. Okay, one is obligated to engage with the laws of Pesach the whole night, even if it's between him and his son, even if it is with himself, even if it was between him and a student. One is obligated to engage the laws of Pesach. This one is almost exactly the same, except it says he has to ask questions. Even if they think they know the laws of Pesach, they ask questions, right? This was about questions. And the other one is about engaging, right? So you've been to study sessions, right?
Mhm.
Like you're getting ready for an exam, right? You got to have a test coming up, right? What are the different ways you can study for a test?
Or you can study with a partner,
Uh-huh.
you can study with that little CD that
Yep,
whoever it
yep,
is
yep, yep,
sends
yep,
to
yep,
you.
yep, yep,
So you can take test
Yep.
prep questions.
yep. You can, okay, yeah. Mark?
Sit there and read the book and
Yeah.
understand it.
Read the book and understand it, right? So the first text is saying you sit and you engage with the laws of Pesach. You sit and you read the laws. That's it. This one's saying no, you can't sit and engage it. You need to ask questions. And if you know everything about the topic, the questions get even harder, don't they? It's saying, the first text is saying, accept and engage the law. The second one is saying, engage, question everything, right? Which do you learn more from?
Question.
Yeah,
That's a
challenging.
good one.
Right? When you're trying to teach something, what do you hate the most? Actually, no, let me rephrase. When you're in an argument with someone, okay, what, do you look forward to them challenging you on everything? No, you just want them to.
I just want them to tell me how it is.
Right. But you want to challenge them, right? You want to ask questions. Diane, this comes back to your question earlier about how to engage with your kids and your family on what's going on in the rest of the world right now, which is to say, let's just pause. Here's what we all think we know. Let's start asking questions. Let's challenge everything. And be curious, right? Be curious, right? There's another book on my shelf that I lent it to my daughter, so it's not on my shelf, called A Most Beautiful Question. A Most Beautiful Question talks about, questions in science, okay? So I'm going to make up the numbers because I don't remember them, okay? But little children ask like 100 questions a day, okay? When you get into grade school, it kind of drops down to 40. When you get into your teens, it drops down to 10. When you're an adult, you don't ask questions anymore, okay? Geniuses, people who get MacArthur grants and that sort of thing, they ask 200 questions a day. They ask lots of questions. In other words, our children are geniuses, and we educate them into, pick your word, okay? So complacency, right?
Stupidity.
That works too, okay? Right? Because we don't ask questions anymore. But scientists, that's all they do is ask questions, right? Creativity is all about play. There's a book by John Cleese. So it's a very short book. I listened to the audiobook. At the end of the audiobook, he asked a question. The question is, the book's only 90 pages long. This was an hour and a half. Why did you have to have it on audio? Why did I have to read this for you? You could have read it yourself. But anyways, he says that the secret to creativity, let me rephrase. He was taught how to think in a way that discouraged creativity and questions. All of your creativity and questions comes from unstructured thought and play. It's from really like setting yourself time, saying, hey, let's play with this for a while, right? And you know those puzzles that they have, like the where you like,
Rubik's Cube.
I was thinking Rubik's Cube, but I was thinking simple, like the two nails are stuck together and there's a way to unattach them, right? And you've looked at it, you study it, and you've never solved it by thinking your way through the problem, have you? No, you've only ever solved it accidentally as you were just fidgeting randomly. Am I right?
And then you can't remember how you did it.
What? Yes, and then you have to do it a second time, but this time you're paying attention to your fiddling, okay? At our Seder, other than the four kashas, how many questions do we allow people to ask during the event?
I don't know, many people are usually just going through reading the Haggadah. Not everybody's questioning.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't stop questions, you guess you don't encourage them either.
Just kind of mow them down, right? So, oh gosh. My kids have really bought into the whole questioning thing. I'm the one who's asking when are we gonna eat. It's like, but wait a minute, what about this and this and this and this? It's like, we used to have like prizes, like if you asked a question, my wife would throw a candy at you. But this is the scientific method, right? No, you want to encourage your kid to become, okay, it's too late for you, but do you want to encourage and let anyone have any Nobel laureate scientists in your kids? Okay, maybe your grandkids. Here you go. When your kid comes home from school, what question do you ask them?
Okay.
How was your day?
What did you do?
What did you do?
What did you learn?
What did you learn? So this guy who won a Nobel Prize, he says, that's not what the question that my parents asked me. They said, Itzik, did you ask a good question today?
Oh, I think I've heard that.
Yeah, it's written in the Haggadah.
Oh,
It's an example story, right? Did you ask a good question today? Right? So I'm gonna tell you my cheat because you got two different things going on here, right? That you're balancing. One of them is I want to have a meaningful discussion and questions and stuff, right? And the other one then is I'm starving. Okay, people are hungry, and all you've done is like you can fast for so long, but then you feel a little bit of food, then your hunger kicks in. And I've had a sprig of parsley. Okay, I know the halakha says you're not supposed to eat a lot of food. It's our salad course, okay? We get to their karpas, we have our salad, and we put it at the crudité, and then we go on with the rest of the magid, the storytelling, but people can munch while they're doing, and it really makes it a lot more relaxing and less anxious, right? Because it's also bad.
Can't
That's
you wait
my
till the
cheat.
Hillel sandwich?
Oh my God. And the Hillel sandwich, by the way, does not have haroset in it. It's just bitter herb and matzah. I'm sorry, it's the way it is. Okay? Yes, it's kind of like, you know, a lamb, lettuce, and bread sandwich. Okay?
At my brother-in-law's Seder, he has that shmira matzah out.
Yeah.
Like, just give me the cardboard box instead.
Understand. Okay.
Condor.
Okay. So Let me ask, so just look at this. Are there times when it's been helpful to ask yourself questions? Like, do you ever ask yourself questions?
Why am I doing this?
Am I doing this? Yeah, what's going on?
Get right.
Yeah,
Should I be doing
yeah.
that?
Okay, got a project to do. Let me write down every single question I have about it. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so, whoops. So the children will ask. Okay. So here's a story, right? A story about a Seder in the 4th century in Babylonia. Abaye asks his teacher and father figure Rabbi why an attendant is clearing the table before they have even eaten. Without providing an answer, Rabbi declares, okay, we can eat now. Okay, so here's the situation. We've sat down to the meal and to explain away. So, Lama okrin et hashulchan. Why did they remove the table? And you may recall, in the Seder, there's one point where you take the Seder plate off the table, right? Why do we do that? Why do we take the Seder plate off the table? Why do we take the Seder plate off the table?
To make more room
Food.
for the food that you're putting.
Well, we're done, you don't get any more.
No, it's like midway through, you take it off the table, you read a story, you put it back on. Like, what was that, right? So, Amar Deve Rabbi Yanai. So it says in the house of Rabbi Yanai, Kidei Sheyakiru Tinikot V'Yishalu. So the children will notice and they'll ask. You remove the Seder table to try to prompt kids to ask questions. You know, like during the Seder, there's one paragraph, you lift up your cup and you put it down. There's another one where you uncover the matzah, you cover the matzah, right? Do you ever ask why? I've never asked why. Why are we raising the cup for this paragraph and not for the other paragraphs? Why am I covering the matzah for this and not for another reason? Okay, maybe there's a little comment in the book that tells me that. It's never sparked me to, I failed. Oh my goodness, all my Seders I failed to be curious about this. Now I'm curious. It's like one else. So we're raising a cup. Why are we raising our cups, right? Because there has to be a reason.
It was done 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, I understand tradition. Okay, look. You know the story about tradition, right? Okay, you've heard this story. I've told this story. I'll tell the story again. Okay. New couple, they get married, Shabbos, pot roast. Sorry, brisket. She goes to make the brisket. She cuts off the ends. No, sorry. She makes the brisket and she makes the whole brisket. And the husband says, what are you doing? He says, that's brisket. He says, that's not how you make brisket. How do you make brisket? You're supposed to cut the ends off. Why? I don't know, but my mother always cut the ends off. So they go to mom. And mom says, yeah, and daughter-in-law says, is this true? You cut the ends off the brisket? She says, oh yes, of course. You can't cook the ends of the brisket. You have to cut off the end. Why? I don't know. That's just what mom. So they go to grandma. And says, do you always cut off the ends of the brisket? Well, I used to. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, why? Why do you cut off the ends of brisket? Because the pan was small. So you can make a brisket and not cut off the ends? Yeah, sure. I've done that dozens of times. You know, after you guys moved out, I got a bigger oven, I got a bigger pan, and you know, I made it properly. Right? But it's a tradition. Nobody asks. Right?
My friend had a tradition like that with a pot, soup pot.
Mm-hmm.
It was the soup pot she used for her kitchen, for her chicken soup was different than the others, and it did not have a lid.
Mhm.
She comes into my house, I'm making soup, I had a lid on the pot. You didn't make chicken soup with a lid on the pot. Well, we questioned her mother and found out that the pot she had that fit the chicken soup right didn't have a lid.
Aha! Right. So that's I'm using that story from now on. That's a real story. Okay.
That was a great story. I mean, I don't think it's true. 1964, American advisors walking the trail with the South Vietnamese counterpart.
Yeah.
And his wife is way back, the Vietnamese wife is way back there carrying all his worldly belongings on her back. And the American, American values, women don't do this. Why is she back there? Tradition. Okay. 4 years later, when the war is really hot, he's doing the same thing with the same advisor. Meanwhile, now the wife is way out in front. The advisor's carrying everything on his back. He goes, why is she out in front now? And he goes, landmines.
Whoa.
There's your traditions.
Oh, God, that's
Right, that's even worse.
I know.
So, forgive me for saying this. But Mark, you've just illustrated it. Tradition is the answer we give
Right.
when we don't know.
Of course. You can't prove it.
Yeah,
When we don't know. And then the question is, once you find out the reason why, if the reason no longer holds, do you still have to do it? So I was struck at the Pesach thing with the Supreme Court justices. And Elena Kagan is now the Solicitor General or whatever she was. It says, okay, you want me to show up in the official uniform with the striped pants and the and it's like, no, you don't need to do that. Okay. Okay, so Abaye is Abaye Hayav Yatev Kamei de Rabba. Abaye is sitting in front of Rabba. Hazad Madli Taka Mekame. They're lifting the table from in front of him. Amar Lahu says to him, Adain Loka. Hey, we haven't finished eating. Yeah, Ochlim, we haven't finished eating. Atuka Ma'akri Taka Mekaman. Why did they come and remove the food from before us? Amar Le Rabba. Rabba says to him, Patri Patartan Milamar Manishtana. Okay, we don't have to ask Manishtana anymore. You did it.
he already asked
Bravo,
the
son.
question.
Right.
He
And
knows
Manishtana is only done if your kid doesn't know how to ask questions. You ask me a question, they were done. Saved a whole bunch of time. Well, saved like
He asked a good question.
you asked a
today.
good question. But the father figure did something to prompt the asking of a question. Right?
Yeah. So were you saying earlier, all the things we do with the lifting of the wine and the
They're
moving of the
prompted.
plate with the matzah, it's to prompt somebody in hopes somebody will answer, it will ask a question.
Right. So, for example, if you're expecting 9 people at your Seder and you set 10 places, someone's going to ask why. And what are the options for that empty place? Who's that empty place for? Why did you do that? What are the possibilities?
Well,
One, you can't count.
well, you may spontaneously ask someone else to come. You know, somebody may need a place at your table.
Could be for overflow. Okay, what else?
Yahoo.
Could be for Eliyahu. Sure. What else?
This year, I figured out I could fit 3 empty chairs at my table.
Huh?
And so I have my granddaughters looking for names, hostages, IDF troops, someone who was killed on October 4th, whatever way they want to do it, they need to find 3 names.
And put little place cards with the names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But simply have it, and the interesting thing is, if you want to prompt that discussion, you have the 3 places, you don't have the card set. And you don't say anything about it until someone says, hey, why'd you set this place? I mean, the silverware and this and that and fill the cups. What's going on? And they say, well, I'm glad you asked. Why do you think? And go through the possibilities. And then that's one way to start that discussion if you want to have that discussion. I'm not sure I want to have that discussion at my center, but I'm a different person. But Yeah, right. Do something different. Like, why do we cover the mirrors in the house of mourning? Okay, yeah, it's to, you're not supposed to be vain, but come on, it's like, it's to make you question what's different here. What's different, right? It's I'm noticing your socks are mismatched. What's going on? Well, the- what's his name? Jonathan Oliver Sacks, the great psychologist, German psychiatrist. He would always have a button-down shirt, one button unbuttoned. And that was purposeful. I have no idea why, but he was, what, I guess to make people ask questions. I don't know. Okay.
Wouldn't your answer be a function of your own thought process? We have the form, so
Mm, mm.
author, and then on top of that,
Yep, yep.
conceding,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
the ultra. And they're gonna answer that question totally different,
Yeah, isn't that great?
and there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Even though those on this side think we're all wrong, on this side, that besides the point.
Isn't it great that like the conservative movement is a liberal movement? I mean, it's socially liberal.
We're all oxymorons, what can I tell you?
It's a historical thing. Okay. The text agrees that questions are the entryway in. So why do you think Rabbi said, great, we don't have to do the Manishtana? Like, why does he like skip over it?
Freedom opening up a can of worms. The answers.
I think it's because he views the Manishtana as a poor alternative to honest questions. Whereas for us, if we skip the Manishtana, run your Seder and accidentally skip a page. See if anyone notices some questions. Just do it on purpose and then see if anyone notices. Yeah, or skip a section. It says, so it's gonna say, hey, wait a minute, we missed this, right? Like spark something, yeah. Like, so what could you do at your Seder to kind of cause people to be confused and prompted, right? Could you imagine not saying the Manishtana if other questions came up first? Can you imagine saying, well, we fulfilled the obligation with this, let's move on? The youngest would be thrilled because they hate doing it. They hate doing it.
Interesting.
Okay.
So this is trying to say there's different ways to get,
Uh-huh.
different paths to get to the same
We
place.
fulfill
Right.
specific
So-
factors.
So bring this all kind of to a close. The value of questions. So here's some questions for us to think for ourselves. What place do questions hold in your life? What's your relationship with questions? Questions like, if you're a military commander, you might not want questions. On the other hand, if you're a military commander, you definitely want questions. Not enough questions were asked before the Bay of Pigs. Exactly.
Not enough questions for us before the big one either.
Yeah. Okay. How does asking questions inform your Jewish experience, right? Because it's not unheard of for people to go to synagogue and to sit there with the book and just wonder, I have no idea what's going on every week, but not ask the question, what are we trying to achieve here? The service did not come together randomly. Like, it's not like someone was walking along the heath and they discovered a prayer book. Says, oh, here's this order. No, somebody actually put it together for a purposeful reason, and they're trying to achieve something. And these books were originally handwritten, so every single word is precious and there for a reason. There's no extra words in there, but it all seems like this big glurch. So what am I missing, right? We have to start asking questions like, what's the value of this? Why is this here, right? As opposed to, well, I'll just arrive 2 hours later. Don't worry about that part of it. You know what the best part of the service is? Best part of the service is the 2 pages before we start the service. Those are the really interesting stuff. The really interesting stuff is at the beginning, but okay, it's true. It's but we don't do it. Okay. Are there questions that are always kind of stuck on your mind? Why? I know I thought about buying Apple stock. Why didn't I buy the Apple stock? You know, are there questions that are on your mind and what kind of questions help you learn and grow? What kind of questions do you wish you had more of in your life? And what can you do to help yourself to be more questioning?
Recently, I met a cousin that I didn't know existed. I guess it's a third cousin to me. He's the great grandchild of my grandfather's brother. And he told me a lot about the family from Europe that I didn't know. I didn't even know my grandfather had a brother. So that's really added a lot to my life, knowing about them. I have cousins in Israel that I didn't know about. Now I do. Someday when things get straightened out there, we're going to go meet them. So I think I got answers to questions I didn't have. But more questions.
Yeah. Mhm.
Have you gone to Ancestry yet?
No, I haven't done that yet. Yeah,
My sister tried. It's amazing. People contact you never knew.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So, what's the one thought or idea that you're taking away from our time together this morning? And we'll start with Arlene, who's off screen.
About what we.
In the last
the-
hour, like, what's the one thought? What's the big idea you're taking,
Well,
if any?
the importance of questions, certainly, and it's how you learn.
Yeah.
Something else struck me is that a couple of times I've heard from different people who were Catholic and converted to Judaism, and they said, well, they weren't allowed to ask questions when they were learning, in Sunday school, they weren't allowed. And what they liked about Judaism was you can ask questions and there are a variety of answers. And this was particularly appealing. It's an interesting insight through other people's eyes about what Judaism brings to the table and what makes it something that is spiritually important. So there's just an observation there. And I think the other stereotype about, Jewish people who always answer a question with a question or ask a question.
And what's wrong with that? Why should there be something wrong?
I should know what's wrong with that. I should know. I don't know. But seriously, the importance of questions in whatever way, and maybe what this book is also saying is, there's different ways. The most recent example, the child asked a question, and that's what you needed. So maybe it didn't have to do the 4 questions, which you have alternatives, and someone noticing and questioning is a positive overall.
Yeah, to expand on that, it's not only questions, but the answers. There's not one answer in this book.
No.
It's all left to the reader. Why do we do this? Why did we do this? Rabbi this said that. It's not one answer in that book,
Yeah,
other than tradition.
yeah, that's right.
But you don't have
The
to
answer
settle
can
the
get you in
answer
a lot of
process.
trouble,
That's true.
like you mentioned, Bay of Pigs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Might have even gotten Kennedy killed, who knows?
Yeah.
That's the greatest conspiracy going.
Mm.
I guess the importance of asking questions and encouraging other people to ask questions, and it's that's the way to learn. And you know, learn the way you find out what other people know, and encourage questions, and then when you give answers, you learn from them.
I think this really helped me to, so I was toying with the question, why is this night different? And that was, I guess I just needed permission to say, okay, we got the other three questions, let's talk about this and have a discussion, because the youngest one is 15.
Yeah,
That we could have a good discussion. and
Yeah.
Find out what they do now, what they think.
yeah. So, thank you all for joining me on this discussion and questions. I want to leave you with just one little nugget. So I have another book on my shelf called Small Teaching. It's based upon the concept of small ball. Small ball is if you make little changes to like the fundamentals, you can improve the whole game, right? And that's how, that's the whole money ball thing. It's like just, focus on basis, focus on this, focus on that. So in teaching, one of the things you can do to promote learning is before you teach something, ask the question, what do you think this is going to be about? And it doesn't matter what answer the students have, whether the students are right about what they think it's going to be about, or whether they're wrong about what they think it's going to be about. And if it's a specific concept, if they're right about what the answer is or wrong about, it doesn't matter. The mere fact of going through the process of being curious before they read it improves their retention and does not interfere with their learning the lesson. So one thing that you might want to take in anything that you do, whether it's reading a novel or the Seder or the service, is before you do it, ask the question, well, I wonder what this is going to be about. And then have a guess and write it down, and then you can check on it later. And that's a little gift for us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Can we take these?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Take one. Thank you, Rabbi. That's very helpful.